All right. Back at the AI agent store we are, and this time, this Firecrawl AI has really caught our eye.
Yeah.
Like imagine taking like whole websites and making them into data that AI can actually use, all through one API.
Right, right.
Pretty neat, right?
Yeah.
If you're into AI development, automation, or even if you're just kind of curious about how we can make the web, work better for us, well, this is for you.
I think what's really cool here is that Firecrawl, basically it's like a translator for the web. It takes all this messy information from websites and it turns it into this neat, organized data that AI models can use.
So it's not just copy and paste. It's more like you have all these puzzle pieces and it puts them together in a way that makes sense to the AI.
Yeah, and it's not just for like static web pages either. Firecrawl can handle, dynamic content, the stuff that changes as you use it. And it can even work with proxies and get around those anti-bot measures that some websites have.
Oh, sneaky.
Yeah, this makes it super powerful and flexible.
Okay, so tech-wise, it sounds really cool. But let's bring it back down to earth for a sec. How would someone who's not a coder, how would this impact them? Why should they care about this Firecrawl AI?
That's a great question. You see, AI models are only as good as the data that we feed them. So by giving AI access to this, like clean, structured data from the web, it opens up a lot of possibilities. We could see smarter chatbots, research tools that can take information from like tons of sources, maybe even like personalized news feeds that actually give you what you want.
Personalized news feeds that actually work, huh? Now, that's something I could get behind. But can we get a bit more specific? Like, what are some real-world examples of how Firecrawl is being used right now?
One of the most common ways it's being used is to pull out data to train these AI models. Like imagine you're building an AI to look at how customers feel about something.
Okay.
Firecrawl can go through a massive amount of reviews and pull out, are they positive or negative? Then feed that right to your AI model.
Wow, so it's not just grabbing the text, it's understanding what it means and pulling out the important parts.
Absolutely.
That opens up a whole new level.
Another really interesting area is automation. Web scraping, where you want to collect information from different websites.
Yeah.
Firecrawl can automate that whole thing, letting you gather, say, competitor prices or real estate listings or really anything you can find on the web.
It's like having a little digital assistant running around doing all the work for you.
Exactly. And what makes Firecrawl even more powerful is that it can get past all of those anti-bot measures that some websites use, and it can even handle dynamic content, meaning it can get data from websites that are changing all the time. This opens up a ton of data sources that we couldn't get to before with the old tools.
Now we're talking. And, I noticed that Firecrawl AI is open source. I know in the software world that's a big deal, but for someone who's not a techie, can you explain why open source is important, especially for AI?
So open source software is like a recipe that anyone can see, use, and even change.
Okay.
Since Firecrawl is open source, developers and researchers can look at the code, really understand it, and even add their own improvements. And it makes it so everyone can work together and things move faster.
So it's a group effort to make AI more accessible and to really push what's possible.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
That's pretty great.
Yeah.
But how about people like me who don't code? How does being open source help us?
Even if you're not a programmer, you still get the benefits from the stuff that the open source community makes. These open source projects usually lead to software that is more, robust, more reliable, and adaptable to different needs. Plus, with more people looking at the code, security issues are found and fixed much quicker.
So it's kind of like the wisdom of the crowd, but for software. The more people contributing, the better it is for everyone.
Exactly. And for something as complex and as powerful as AI, that kind of teamwork is super valuable. It lets us move forward faster and in a better way, making sure that AI benefits everyone.
That's a great point. And speaking of the big AI world out there, you mentioned before that Firecrawl is compared to Pal AI a lot. I'm curious, for someone trying to choose between these different AI platforms, what are the important things to think about?
Choosing the right tool is like picking the right tool for a job. Like you wouldn't use a hammer to screw in a light bulb.
Right.
Well, different AI platforms are better at different things. Some are good with specific types of data, while others might be easier to use or have fancier features.
So it's not one size fits all.
Right.
You really need to look at what you're trying to do.
Exactly. Another thing is your own skills. Some platforms need you to code more than others. Firecrawl is pretty friendly for developers, but if you're not comfortable with code, there might be other platforms that are more visual and simpler.
Right, you don't want to get in over your head.
Yeah, and of course there's the money part. Some platforms are free, while others have subscriptions or you pay as you go. You got to balance the cost with what you get to see, what makes sense for you.
It's all about finding that balance between what it can do, your skills, and your budget.
Exactly. We could do a whole episode just comparing these different AI platforms, but for now I'd say do your research, know what you need, and pick a platform that helps you reach your goals.
Good advice. Well, we've talked about a lot today, from what Firecrawl AI is to the whole open source thing, and even how to pick the right platform.
Yeah, it's been a good talk. And we've just scratched the surface of what AI agents can do, and tools like Firecrawl are giving us the power to shape that future.
It really is an exciting time to be in this field. But before we go, I want to leave our listeners with something to think about.
Like, imagine having a tool that can go through the entire internet and, like, pick out the data you need for your research and give it to you in a way that's, like, easy to look at and understand. That's what Firecrawl can do. It's about going deeper than just, searching for keywords and really finding the good stuff hidden in all that online info.
That's a cool way to think about it. It's like going from a regular metal detector to one of those fancy ground-penetrating radars.
Yeah.
You're not just, looking at the surface anymore.
Exactly. And with those large language models, the LLMs get even more interesting. You see, LLMs are built to process and understand, like, normal language, and they do really well with structured data. Firecrawl is like a bridge between that messy web data and the LLMs, making them work together really well.
So like Firecrawl is the translator that helps the LLMs, read and get the web.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy. And can you give us like an example of what this could look like in the real world?
Okay, so imagine you're doing some research and you want to see how people feel about a certain company. Firecrawl could go through all the news articles, the social media posts, even customer reviews, all over the web. Then it can pull out all the important bits about that company and feed that into an LLM, which could then, analyze how people feel in each piece of content and make a whole report on what the overall public opinion is.
Wow, so it's like having a whole team of researchers working 24/7 going through everything online.
Right. And it's not just for research either. Think about chatbots for customer service. If you train a chatbot on data about a company's products, their services, and how they interact with customers, you could make a chatbot that can answer even the hard questions and solve problems way better, giving people a more personalized experience.
So we're not talking about those, basic chatbots that just have a script and leave you frustrated.
No.
We're talking about chatbots that actually understand you and give you good answers.
Yeah, exactly. And because Firecrawl is open source, we're going to see even more creative and innovative uses for it coming from the community.
That's what's so exciting about this whole area. It's always changing and pushing the limits. And speaking of pushing limits, I want to go back to something we talked about earlier. Using Firecrawl for more than just research or automation, what are some of the maybe less obvious or even futuristic ways we could see this tech being used?
That's where things get really interesting. I mean, we've barely scratched the surface of what we can do with AI agents and tools like Firecrawl. One thing with huge potential is personalized learning. Like, imagine education that's made just for you, going at your speed, changing based on what you're good at and what you need to work on.
So instead of everyone learning the same way, we could have a system that actually gets how each person learns best.
Yeah, exactly. And Firecrawl could be a big part of this by collecting data on how you like to learn, finding where you have gaps in your knowledge, and even, picking content from all over the web that fits your learning goals.
That's amazing. It's like having a personal tutor who knows just what you need to do well.
Another really cool area is creative collaboration. Like, imagine AI agents working with, artists, musicians, writers, helping them come up with new ideas, new concepts, and really pushing the boundaries of what they do. Firecrawl could give these AI agents a huge amount of inspiration, letting them contribute in ways we couldn't even think of before.
That's a crazy thought. We're not just talking about, automating stuff. We're talking about working with AI to make totally new forms of expression.
And that's what makes this whole field so exciting. Yeah. It's not just about making smarter machines, it's about taking human creativity and making it even better.
And for those of you listening who are like, okay, I'm ready to jump in, Rue, remember to check out AIagentstore.ai.
Yeah.
That's where you'll find a whole bunch of, awesome AI agents like Firecrawl ready to help you unlock what the web can really do. So go explore, see what amazing things you can build.
And don't forget, this is really just the start. This AI world is changing all the time, and with tools like Firecrawl, well, the future is looking pretty amazing. So what will you create?